Developing right now on Morning News Now, 5 Americans closer to freedom in a controversial prisoner swap with Iran. The 4 men and 1 woman now expected to fly home as early as today in exchange for 5 Iranian prisoners. All this after the U.S. agreed to unfreeze $6 billion of Iranian oil money. We'll take you to Tehran for the latest on the high-stakes deal. Plus, end of watch. Tragedy in Southern California after a sheriff's deputy is shot and killed in an apparent ambush. Now the search is on for the gunman. We'll bring you the latest. Also this morning, motion to move. New developments in the Georgia election case involving Donald Trump. Today, a Trump-era Justice Department official is set to appear before a judge over a request to move the case to federal court. This as the former president speaks out, admitting his role in attempting to overturn the 2020 election results.
Were you calling the shots, though, Mr. President, ultimately?
As to whether or not I believed it was rigged, oh, sure.
We have team coverage, including that exclusive interview with our own Kristen Welker. And flying the pet-friendly skies. It's a growing trend, more travelers choosing to bring their furry friends along for the trip. But before you start packing the doggy bed and treats, you'll want to know the rules, or it could get rough. We'll break it all down to keep things stress-free. What are those, Joe?
Those are good boys. I flew with a cat once. And that was an adventure.
I couldn't. Something. I mean, Lucy would just never be able to do that.
Exactly.
But it does bring up a lot of questions.
We'll have some great answers for you coming up. Good morning. Good to have you with us on this Monday. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. We're going to get started with breaking news this morning. 5 Americans who are being held in Iran are expected to be released this morning as part of a prisoner swap.
Under the agreement, the U.S. is also releasing 5 Iranians and releasing $6 billion in Iranian assets. NBC News Tehran bureau chief and correspondent Ali Arouzi joins us now with more on this. Ali, good morning. So let's just start with the very latest. What do we know about the prisoners involved, and what's been some of the reaction today?
Good morning, Joe. Well, as you mentioned, these are 5 U.S. citizens, 4 men and 1 woman. They're also dual nationals. All of them hold Iranian passports as well. Out of the 5 of them, only 3 of their names have been made public so far, and they are 51-year-old Siamak Namazi, who spent more time in an Iranian prison than any other U.S. citizen in history, 59-year-old businessman Emad Sharghi, and 67-year-old environmentalist Morad Tahbaz, who also holds British citizenship. Now, they are all expected to leave today, but as you know, Joe, things are never easy between the United States and Iran, and it's not a done deal until they're on the plane out of here. But they are being exchanged for something around between $6 and $7 billion, depending on the exchange rate. Iran is also getting 5 prisoners, citizens of the Islamic Republic who've been jailed in the U.S. We don't have any of their names, but we do know that there are 5 of them, 5 for the prisoners here that have been imprisoned in U.S. jails, mainly on charges of violating or circumventing U.S. sanctions. As for the release of the prisoners here, Joe, there isn't much of a reaction amongst ordinary Iranians here. You know, the economy is in terrible shape here. People are still reeling over those protests a year ago. So it's not really front and center for most Iranians on this prisoner exchange. It's gone largely unnoticed. That may change in the course of the day once they've changed. But right now, not much reaction on the ground from Iranian people.
So, Ali, let's talk about that $6 or so billion. There are stipulations. The money can only be used for humanitarian purposes. We know last week, NBC Nightly News anchor Lester Holt spoke with Iran's president through a government translator. He indicated the money belongs to Iran and they will spend it as they need. Let's listen to that.
What is your expectation of its use? We're told that it's for humanitarian purposes, food and medicine. Do you believe you have the right to use that money in any way that you see fit?
This money belongs to the Islamic Republic of Iran, and naturally, we will decide, the Islamic Republic of Iran will decide to spend it wherever we need it. How to spend our money, of course, it is under the authority of the Islamic Republic of Iran.
So if I hear you clearly, that it will be used for more than humanitarian purposes in your view?
Humanitarian means whatever the Iranian people needs. So this money will be budgeted for those needs. And the needs of the Iranian people will be decided and determined by the Iranian government.
So, Ali, are there any safeguards in place to make sure the money doesn't go for military or nuclear purposes?
Well, Joe, I mean, this is funny. Even when Tehran and Washington make a deal, they don't seem to be reading off the same page. The U.S. says that there are plenty of safeguards in place to make sure that that money will only be used for humanitarian purposes. That money was in a South Korean bank where the Iranians had absolutely no access to it. Now it's in a Qatari bank where they have access to it. And the U.S. says that they put very strict measures in place to make sure that's only used for humanitarian purposes. But as you saw in that interview with our own Lester Holt, Iran's president said, no, that's not the case. We can do what we like with that money. We can spend it however we like. Now, the White House reacted immediately to that interview, saying, no, that's not the case. If the Iranians decide to spend that money on anything other than humanitarian purposes, it can be refrozen. So that's where the two sides stand. But the reality also is, Joe, that even if that money is under strict supervision of the U.S. Treasury Department, it still frees up about $6 or $7 billion in the country for the government here to spend on whatever they like.
All right. Ali Arouzi from Tehran. Ali, thank you so much.
Well, turning now to Georgia, where a federal judge is set to hear arguments today from former Justice Department official Jeffrey Clark.
Clark is one of 19 defendants in the Georgia election interference case. He's accused of taking part in a scheme involving former President Trump to try and overturn the 2020 election. Clark is seeking to move his case from state to federal court. All 19 defendants in that case have pleaded not guilty. Last week, one of Clark's co-defendants, Georgia State Senator Sean Still, learned he won't be suspended from office following his indictment. A review panel appointed by Georgia Governor Brian Kemp said it did not believe the indictment would affect his ability to carry out his duties as a public official.
MSNBC anchor Katie Fang and NBC News legal analyst Danny Cevallos join us now on this. Hey, Katie, we'll get started with you. So what are we expecting Clark's attorneys to argue here in this request for removal?
Well, not only are we expecting to hear from Clark's attorneys today to answer your question, that they're going to say that Jeffrey Clark was acting as a federal official when he did all of the conduct that's been alleged to be relating to him in that indictment that's being brought by DA Fani Willis. But Clark has the burden. It is his burden to be able to convince Judge Jones here in federal court that not only was he a federal officer, but that all of the acts that he undertook to be able to overturn the election results in 2020 were related to his job. The problem is the state of Georgia has filed a stinging response in opposition. You expect to see equally as stinging cross-examination today in court, wherein they ask him, Mr. Clark, how is it possible that the actions you took as a member of the DOJ were actually a part of your job when you were told specifically by the Attorney General, Jeffrey Rosen, at the time, that we have nothing to do with elections in the states. It's outside of your job. And so we're expecting to hear those arguments. And the biggest question is, will Jeffrey Clark take the stand as Mark Meadows did last week?
So, Danny, this is a question we've asked numerous times over the last couple of weeks. Why try and move it to federal court? What would be the advantages of that?
The advantages are massive. And while this removal bid is on the ropes, don't count it out yet. It's possible this case could still end up in federal court. And here are the two main advantages. Number one, you expand the geographic area of the jury pool. Now, that takes you to counties that are a mixed bag for Trump, but and his co-defendants. But on the whole, anything that expands you outside of Fulton County, if you're a defendant in this case, is good for the defendants. All you need to do is look at the election results from the most recent election to give you an idea of which direction voters went in those counties, in Fulton County and then the counties outside. Secondly, and I think this was on display last week when there was a televised hearing in Georgia in Fulton County Court, the strategic advantage is you take prosecutors out of the courthouse where they are every single day, where they're comfortable, and you put them in an alien environment, which is federal court, with different rules of procedure. Now, you may say, what's the big deal? They're still prosecuting the same Georgia laws, but I think that kind of home court advantage is critical. It's no surprise that virtually every DA their office is located either in the courthouse or directly across the street. And I think the Fulton County prosecutors are located right across the street from the courthouse. This is where they are every day. You notice, I'll give you an example. Last week, there was a complaint by the defense counsel that, hey, we filed these motions, we wrote them out. The prosecutors didn't even file anything in writing. They just showed up and made oral argument. Well, that's the way it is in that courthouse. You take them out, put them into a federal courtroom, that may not fly, and that could make the difference.
Katie, let's bring you back in here. So Judge Steve Jones, who's hearing today's arguments, as we were referencing, rejected Mark Meadows' attempt for removal earlier this month. Meadows requested an expedited appeal. So tell us the latest on that front.
Yeah, so actually today is the deadline, September 18th, for Mark Meadows to file his initial brief to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, trying to convince them that Judge Jones made a mistake when he ruled against Meadows and allowing him not to take his case from state court to federal court. A week later, on September 25th, the state of Georgia has to file its response to what Mark Meadows files. And then just a few days later, Mark Meadows has to file his reply brief. To Danny's point, there's a lot of legal filings that happen in federal court, but we're interested to see who are the three judges that are in the 11th Circuit that are going to actually hear this appeal. It definitely sometimes lends itself to some insight in terms of where they might be leaning. But at this point, an expedited appeal is good news for Mark Meadows, but also good news for Fani Willis, because if he loses at the 11th Circuit and the Supreme Court doesn't take up the issue, Mark Meadows is squarely back in state court.
Danny, real quickly, let's talk about the federal election interference case. We know Special Counsel Jack Smith wants this narrow gag order on former President Trump. Why is that? What's he looking for here?
Some of the events in these cases have been surprises. This is not one of them. Everybody knew this was coming sooner or later, that Donald Trump would push the limits of extrajudicial statements, and that sooner or later the government would make a motion to restrict what he says. And so the government is trying to make what appears to be a reasonable request that, look, we have the First Amendment. The president should be able to talk about this. This is arguably a lot of political speech. So then the government's asking the court to enter a narrowly tailored order that would really just restrict his comments about the judge, about witnesses, about specific people in the case. Donald Trump is different than any other criminal defendant in American history. There is nobody else who can take to his phone and change the minds or influence the minds of an entire nation, arguably the entire world. Special conditions require special measures. This is probably one of those moments.
All right. Katie, thank you so much. Danny, you're sticking around for another question in just a moment.
That's right. You're going to help us on this next one. So meanwhile, in an exclusive interview with the new moderator of NBC's Meet the Press, Kristen Welker, Trump admitted it was his decision to attempt to overturn the results of the 2020 election. NBC News White House correspondent Monica Alba has the details.
Former President Trump facing new scrutiny for comments made on Meet the Press with NBC's Kristen Welker, that he made up his own mind to spread the false claim that the 2020 election was rigged, an assertion legal experts say could undercut any defense strategy that would lay the blame on his lawyers.
You called some of your outside lawyers. You said they had crazy theories. Why were you listening to them? Were you listening to them because they were telling you what you wanted to hear?
You know who I listened to myself? I saw what happened. I watched that election, and I thought the election was over at 10 o'clock in the evening.
You were listening to your instincts.
My instincts are a big part of it. That's been the thing that's gotten me to where I am, my instincts. But I also listen to people. There are many lawyers.
Were you calling the shots, though, Mr. President, ultimately?
As to whether or not I believed it was rigged, oh, sure. It was my decision, but I listened to some people.
On abortion access, the Republican frontrunner wouldn't say whether he would sign a 15-week federal ban, while calling out his primary rival, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' position.
I would sit down with both sides and I'd negotiate something, and we'll end up with peace on that issue for the first time in 52 years. I'm not going to say I would or I wouldn't. I mean, DeSantis is willing to sign a 5-week and 6-week ban.
Would you support that? You think that goes too far?
I think what he did is a terrible thing and a terrible mistake.
And with just days until government funding runs out, Mr. Trump endorsing a possible shutdown.
I'd shut down the government if they can't make an appropriate deal, absolutely.
Meet the Press also extended an invitation to President Biden, who responded to the Republican impeachment effort against him for the first time publicly. Lots of luck, he said. Monica Alba, NBC News, the White House.
So as we said, we're bringing back in NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalas. So Danny, those words, my decision, how could that undercut a defense strategy that kind of pins it on his lawyers, people who were telling him to take this strategy?
Well, the government will roll in whatever the modern version is of a VCR and put that tape in, and they'll play it for the jury. Look, as a criminal defense attorney, we are a kind of anthropologist of bad decisions. We see them all the time. Clients make these decisions after they're arrested, after they're indicted, that they think are helping their case, but they're shooting themselves in the foot. In a way, I understand it. They don't understand the process. They want to do whatever they can to help themselves. But that's understandable for a lot of people who simply aren't expected to understand the process. This is the former president of the United States. And I think at this point, anyone who represents him, while they are aware that he's going to make these kinds of gaffes, I can't help but think they're at home, palm to forehead, wondering why. But I mean, at this point, if you're going to represent Donald Trump, part of the deal is, and I'm sure it's in the fee agreement, is that, look, whatever you say against our advice, we can't be responsible for. And they can't be responsible for what he's getting on air and saying that is torpedoing his own case.
Danny Savalas, as always, thank you so much.
On this Monday morning, many auto workers are returning to the picket line. The big three automakers and the United Auto Workers Union met over the weekend to discuss terms for the new contract. Leaders say they're still far from reaching an agreement. The talks began just 24 hours after 13,000 people walked off their jobs across 3 different locations. The union says many more of its members are expected to strike later this week with little to no notice. NBC News correspondent Jay Gray joins us now from one of those plants in Wayne, Michigan. So, Jay, we know negotiations resumed over the weekend. What do we know about those meetings? Any progress at all?
Well, Joe, I think there's progress in the fact that they sat down at the table. I want to give you a look at what's going on outside the plant here in Wayne, Michigan. They continue to strike, and we've seen a few flare-ups today. The officers, police officers coming in to help some people get through this line and to work. Remember that these are targeted strikes with just divisions of plants coming out to strike at this point, though that could expand. Where they are on these talks, well, I think both sides would be quick to tell you that they're still pretty far away from any common ground. Give a listen to what the president of the union, Shawn Fain, had to say this weekend about that.
Progress is slow, and I don't really want to say we're closer. Really, we're meeting today. We're continuing to meet this afternoon, tomorrow, and we've been here every day. Like I said, it's a shame that the companies didn't take our advice and get down to business from the beginning of bargaining back in mid-July. They did what they always do. They delayed until the very end, to the last week, and then they wanted to get serious about this.
All right, so the primary sticking point is that pay raise. The union asking for 40% raise with 20% up front. The best offer from the big three to this point, Joe, has been about half that 20% raise with 10% immediately.
So, Jay, NBC News has learned President Biden dispatched a team to help try and resolve this standoff. They're expected to arrive in Detroit sometime this week. Who's on the team? What role will they play in the negotiations?
You've got a White House advisor along with the acting labor secretary, who have, by the way, been on the phone with both sides in this negotiation since the beginning of the strike. They do plan to make an in-person visit sometime early this week, is what we're hearing from the White House. Not as mediators, but simply to, and I'm quoting here, support negotiations. So they're just trying to work this thing through. They'd like to see this in as quickly as possible, like a lot of people, obviously.
Jay, on top of all this, now both Ford and GM announced hundreds of temporary layoffs for non-striking workers. What are we hearing from both sides about this move? I mean, are we starting to see the ripple effects of the strike now?
Yeah, I think you absolutely are, Joe. 600 workers at this plant were temporarily laid off as a result of the strike, according to officials with Ford. And then you're going to likely see one of the plants in Kansas shut down this week. 2,000 or so workers will be displaced, at least temporarily. And again, what they are saying is that that's a result of parts not being made, and so they can't continue with the process. So, yeah, I think you see some pushback from the automakers as the bargaining continues. And remember, the negotiators from Stellantis sat down with union negotiators this week, and today you'll likely see Ford and GM representatives in that negotiation room as well.
All right. Jay Gray in Michigan. Jay, thank you so much.
Now to Southern California, where a community is in mourning after a sheriff's deputy was shot and killed in an apparent ambush over the weekend. Police are asking for the public's help in finding the shooter. NBC News correspondent Dana Griffin has the latest on the search.
The desperate search for a gunman who killed Los Angeles County Sheriff Deputy Ryan Klinkenboomer.
We need to get this guy off the street.
While on duty Saturday, surveillance video shows what appears to be a black vehicle pull up next to the deputy. The car inches closer, stops, then takes off. Sources confirming to NBC the video is a focus of the investigation. The 30-year-old field trainer was a third-generation law enforcement officer engaged to be married. He was shot in the back of the head, according to investigators.
He was just driving down the street. And for no apparent reason, somebody decided to shoot and murder him.
Moments after being shot, sirens blare as a line of patrol vehicles escort Deputy Klinkenboomer to a hospital. The 12-mile journey, agonizing. The sheriff says a Good Samaritan found the deputy and called 911.
Palmdale Sheriff is working an emergency involving one of their deputies.
Later that night, a somber salute as the officer, covered by an American flag, is wheeled out of the hospital. Lights once again illuminate the night sky in a processional to the coroner's office, where Deputy Klinkenboomer's family walks hand in hand behind him.
Somebody saw something. Somebody knows something.
Investigators now pleading for help.
The person that did this is a coward, and they will be caught.
The community now showing an outpouring of love to the officer, once devoted to them.
Our thanks to Dana Griffin for that report. While mourners gathered yesterday for a vigil to remember the deputy, a $250,000 reward is being offered for information leading to an arrest in the case.
Time now for a check on your Morning News Now weather.
And joining us on this Monday is Bill Cairns. Hi, Bill. Good morning. Good to see you.
Yeah, happy Monday morning. Today's not a work from home day. It's a work from bed day.
Agreed.
Get away with that. I'm jealous. Yeah, it's a rainy, slow morning. It was a nice weekend in most cases. We did have, Lee, the hurricane passed by Cape Cod, and then also Maine took it on the chin. Almost 100,000 people without power on Saturday. Thankfully, yesterday was a really nice day, and a lot of the people did get power back. But this morning, the rain has returned. It's been soggy all summer, so everyone's like, might as well end summer this way, too. It's just pouring this morning. You're dry from Richmond southwards. D.C.'s not bad. Some of the drizzle is ending. But from Philly to New York up I-95, we're just getting soaked. New York City, steady rain for at least the next 2 hours. That's going to take us right through the end of rush hour, unfortunately. It's very slow out there. Long Island up through I-95. There's a batch of really heavy rain heading up 395 here in areas of eastern Connecticut. That's going to push up here towards the 495 loop and near Worcester. So in Boston, I'd have that umbrella with you all day for the morning commute and the evening commute. New York City, it looks like just the morning commute. The evening commute should be better. So this is what it looks like at 5 p.m. Notice New York City, Hartford southwards, rain's over with, but still pouring from Boston up into New Hampshire and areas of Maine. And then as we go through tonight into tomorrow morning, everything clears on out, even for our friends up in northern New England. So as far as the rainfall totals go, I don't think we're going to get a flooding out of this, but we could see some of the urban-type flooding in some of the areas around Boston, especially later this afternoon, this evening, and then up into areas of Maine. And as far as the week ahead forecast goes, if you're in the middle of the country, it's still summer. It is still air conditioning weather. 93 in Dallas today. It's going to be 88 up in Omaha. And it's going to stay pretty warm throughout the middle of the nation. Even Minneapolis at 85 on Wednesday is pretty warm for this time of year. But heads up, I don't know if you guys have any weekend plans on the East Coast. Unfortunately, it looks like the first fall weekend is going to be like a rainy weekend, like a coastal storm. Not going to be like a hurricane or tropical storm, but a coastal storm. I know we're getting into Halloween soon and apple picking. People were posting pictures, and I was like, all right.
Lots of wet leaves.
Here comes the rain. Yeah, just like today, like you said, work from bed.
Work from bed day. All right. Can that be a thing?
Yeah, I know.
We're starting it now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it. Much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, plot twist. Drew Barrymore backing down after backlash over plans to bring back her daytime talk show during the Hollywood strike. More on the reversal as negotiations get back underway. Welcome back. Planned Parenthood is resuming abortion services in Wisconsin this morning after pausing procedures for more than a year. Abortion services were temporarily banned in the state following the Supreme Court decision overturning Roe v. Wade. A state law from 1849 then immediately went into effect, making it a felony for any person other than a mother to destroy the life of an unborn child. Confusion over the language of that law led to a lawsuit to have it repealed. Back in July, a judge ruled that the law does not apply to abortions. Bringing us to today, NBC News correspondent Maura Barrett joined us from outside Planned Parenthood in Milwaukee with details. So, Maura, walk us through the judge's ruling here. Help us understand this law that was on the books and then what the judge had to say about it.
Good morning, Joe. Yeah, Planned Parenthood will resume those procedures this morning here at one location in Milwaukee and also over in Madison as they ease back into doing these procedures after they had halted them about a year ago. And now you'll have to forgive me for getting into this legal jargon early on a Monday morning, but it's understandable why this language was so confusing because as the law was written in 1849, it wrote that any person other than the mother who had intentionally destroyed the life of an unborn child could be guilty of a felony punishable by 6 years in prison and nearly $10,000. Now, people who are against the right to an abortion made the argument that that applies to a doctor. But then this lawsuit was put into place, and the Dane County Circuit Court Judge Diane Schlipper ultimately wrote that this does not apply when it comes to the case of consensual abortion. She said that there was no 1849 era abortion law. She says that it actually looks like it more likely applied to something called feticide, which would be the act or instance of killing a fetus, usually by assaulting or battering, so something more malicious in nature. And that is what brings us here today, where Planned Parenthood has made the decision to reinstate those procedures, even as this case is still facing further litigation in the high court, Joe.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I mean, this lawsuit is going to continue. It's not over yet in court. This case could eventually reach the Wisconsin Supreme Court. That court now has a liberal majority for the first time in 15 years, something that got a lot of coverage in the last year. What could that mean for the future of this case and just abortion rights in general?
Yeah, I mean, the flip to a liberal court is really the key point here. Basically, Planned Parenthood was able to take the indication of what the state looks like politically and make the inference that as it goes through the high court, what that ultimate decision will look like, even as the case continues to be challenged, whether or not practicing abortions here in Wisconsin will be seen as legal. As it stands now, what they have from the circuit court makes it look like they'll lean in the same direction, given the election and the flip to the more liberal court. But I think this also paints a larger picture for what we're going to see in terms of the battle around abortion rights for both Democrats and Republicans, especially in purple states like here in Wisconsin, and how people are going to choose to run their elections, because that's exactly what happened with the judge who was elected to the Wisconsin State Supreme Court, because she did make abortion rights a big focus in her campaign. And so that's how we're going to have to take a look at people as they lay out their path toward 2024, where they choose to focus and what it means for battleground states like Wisconsin.
Maura, real quickly, let's talk about the impact of this state law over the past year. I have to assume you're not too far from the Illinois border. It had a huge impact on that state.
Right, Joe. About 50 miles south of here, there is a Planned Parenthood in Waukegan, and they had seen a 600% increase in patients looking for abortion services in Illinois, because if you look at the map of the Midwest, a lot of states, Illinois is kind of this isolated state where they do allow abortions compared to the other states surrounding it. So they had seen this incredible influx. So this will help take some of the burden off of that. Obviously, Planned Parenthood does say that they ultimately want to expand to more locations around Wisconsin, but because they haven't been doing this, haven't been practicing abortions for the last year, they have to ease back into it. But it will be definitely an ease on the burden in states like Illinois, where abortion has been protected for the last year, Joe.
All right, Maura Barrett in Milwaukee. Thank you. National headlines now. Kim Jong-un is back in North Korea after that high-stakes visit to Russia.
NBC News foreign correspondent Kelly Kabaya joins us on this. Hey, Kelly, good morning.
Good morning to you. Yes, the North Korean leader returning home with gifts from Russia after that summit with Vladimir Putin. According to the Kremlin, he was presented with a rifle, a glove worn by a Russian cosmonaut, and military drones, which by themselves are actually a violation of UN sanctions. He was also given a fur hat, the Russian ambassador suggesting one size smaller than his own very large head. That's a quote from him, which the Russians said fit the North Korean leader just right. In the Middle East, Israel is angry this morning after the UN voted to designate prehistoric ruins in the occupied West Bank as a World Heritage Site in Palestine. The ruins date back to the 9th millennium BC. Israel controls that territory and does not recognize a Palestinian state. And it's game, set, match once again in China for women's tennis. The Women's Tennis Association ending its boycott over the treatment of doubles champ Peng Shuai. The Chinese player, you might remember, was accused a high-ranking Chinese official of sexual assault back in 2021. The WTA boycotted games for that reason. It now says it has received assurances from those close to Peng that she is fine, and they believe that staging games there is better than staying away, that they'll make more progress that way. So games coming up on the Asian tour for women's tennis next few weeks.
Kelly Corbea, thank you so much. Well, coming up, Drew Barrymore is facing the fallout of the planned return of her daytime talk show during the Hollywood strikes, the latest on the backlash that now has her backing out.
Plus, flying with Fido, more pet owners choosing to take their furry friends on flights. But before you pack the squeaky toys, maybe the catnip, there are some guidelines you're going to want to know about. We'll break down the rules next on Morning News Now.
Welcome back. Well, Drew Barrymore is making a major reversal. She's putting the return of her daytime talk show on hold after fierce backlash to this previous tearful explanation as to why she was going back on the air. She now says it won't return until the strike is resolved. NBC News correspondent Kathy Park has the story.
Please welcome Drew Barrymore.
Just one day before the season premiere of The Drew Barrymore Show, the host announced on social media that she's decided to press pause until the Hollywood strikes are over. Barrymore apologizing and writing in part, "We really tried to find our way forward, and I truly hope for a resolution for the entire industry very soon."
I deeply apologize to writers.
Barrymore's announcement comes just days after posting this video explaining why she was returning to daytime TV.
This is bigger than me, and there are other people's jobs on the line.
Reaction from celebrities, swift and angry. Deborah Messing weighing in with, "You can choose now to halt production." Actor Bradley Whitford tweeting, "We'll never forget it." And West Wing star Josh Malina simply wrote, "Scab." The backlash so bad, Barrymore deleted the video.
And I think that backlash from the industry, from the union, and from people who she's had as guests, who some she might even consider as friends, I think that took a deep, deep impact and had a deep impression on her.
The talk on CBS reversed course too, now evaluating plans for a new launch date.
With this back and forth, what does this all mean for production staffers now?
They will not be working, clearly, and that means they will not be taking home a paycheck.
More off-air controversy stretching into another week. Kathy Park, NBC News.
For all the pet owners out there, the decision to fly with your furry friend has probably crossed your mind. Probably not yours, but as many of you know, it's not always an easy decision to make.
Lucy does not do well in the company of really anyone, so no. Well, Condé Nast Traveler wants to help you make that decision in a new article of theirs. Everything you need to know about flying with a dog.
Let's bring in Artie Menon for more. She is the Global Digital Director at Condé Nast Traveler. Artie, good morning. Good to have you with us. So when you're making this decision on whether to fly with your pet, what are some of the basic guidelines that you should consider?
Well, the first thing you want to ask yourself is, do you have to put your pet and yourself through the stress? Because we all know it's a stressful situation. So you might want to ask yourself if you can road trip it, or if you can leave your pet with a trustworthy boarder or sitter. If you can't avoid it, you've got your homework cut out for you. So you've got to figure out what the stipulations and regulations there are that airlines impose on carrying your pet. So certain breeds of dogs are considered particularly vulnerable. So brachycephalic dogs like bulldogs and such are considered particularly vulnerable to shifts in air pressure and air temperature. Some breeds are not allowed. So you want to do your homework. If you're relocating or traveling abroad, there are quarantine rules around particularly things like rabies that might force a separation from your pet. So you want to make sure of that as well. And then get to your vet early and get that clean bill of health, get your certifications, your vaccinations in order, because the airlines will need those. And lastly, make sure you book your pet on the flight with yourself, so on the same reservation. Most airlines have limited space for pets, so you don't want to lose the opportunity to carry your pet with you.
So, look, traveling is stressful, period, and we know that that's true for humans, but obviously we can't hear from our dogs how they're feeling. So, I mean, how stressful is this for pets? I mean, what is it doing to them? And is there anything that you can do to try to ease that?
It's enormously stressful. Look, we all know that airports are stressful environments, even for us, right? So one of the things that you can do to ease them in is to get your crate or kennel early, get them used to it in non-stressful, non-threatening situations at home, have them eat in it, play in it. Also, maybe get them practiced with more stressful environments. So have them in the crate, take them to louder, kind of well-lit, brightly lit environments. They get used to sort of the stress of an airport. A couple of other things. On the day off, make sure you arrive early, spend some time with them before you sort of send them off to the hold, which is, you know, not fun for them. Make sure you identify all the pet relief areas at the airport, both at your airport of departure and your airport of arrival, so you can, again, you know, relieve them as necessary. So there's all these things that you can do to make them comfortable. Maybe line the crate with something that they're used to, a T-shirt, an old T-shirt, a towel, or a favorite blanket.
All right, some great tips. R.T. Menon, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it. Coming up, phone frustration. You may have noticed it. Fewer humans on customer service lines, leaving you talking to a robot in an endless cycle of automated prompts.
But one company is trying to fix that. We will explain how when we come back. This is Morning News Now.
Welcome back. I'm sure this has happened to you. You try to get a customer service rep on the phone, but it seems you just get caught in an endless cycle of automated prompts. Well, that's because in a growing number of companies, there's simply no one there, no people to speak with. NBC News technology correspondent Jake Ward has more on how that happened and how one company is trying to fix it.
Whether something goes wrong with your Taylor Swift purchase on Ticketmaster,
there's no chat, there's not a phone number,
or trying to tell Lyft that their ETA is off by an hour.
I'm like, well, I don't want to give the driver a one-star review because it's not his fault, but that's really the only way to get their attention.
Customer service is becoming less human.
The less money organizations spend on service, the more profitable they are.
And that's making the rest of us crazy. Amos Tanuma wrote a book about it. His research says
just pre-2020, customer dissatisfaction was about 56%. And then from 2021, late 2021 on, it's now gone up to 66%.
2 out of 3 people are reporting dissatisfaction with customer service?
That's correct.
Now, Ticketmaster says they're ramping up fan support, and Lyft says they are constantly looking for ways to improve how their algorithms estimate wait times. But the problem remains. It's becoming harder to get help from a human.
When companies remove the 800 number, what they do is they tell the customers, we want to deflect you. We don't want you to call.
Gadi Shamia's company, Replicant, offers AI-powered robot voices to answer calls and to even solve simple problems where they can. This Canadian driver needed his car towed, and a Replicant agent dispatched the truck.
We expect a service vehicle to reach you within 39 minutes. We'll contact you when your driver is 5 minutes away.
When I spoke with a Replicant agent about scheduling an eye appointment, well, it mostly worked.
Should I book that appointment for you?
Yes, but I'm 6'7", and often I find I have a really big head. Will your equipment fit me?
I successfully booked your appointment with Dr. Winters on Thursday, September 7th at 8 a.m.
Not so much with the big head, huh?
Shamia says AI should only handle the easy stuff so that a real agent can handle the tough stuff.
We try not to fake being humans. I just want to get out of the way so the agents are free to deal with the more complex issues.
After all, aren't we paying for this customer service one way or another?
We pay a huge amount of administrative fees to them, but yet there are no people to talk to.
Some customer service systems truly are an unbreakable jail, Tanuma says. Still, he recommends these tips that might just get you a human on the phone. If there's a sales option, that's usually a quick path to a real person. Select or say you want to cancel your service. If the call is voice activated, just keep chanting human or agent. If all else fails, press 9 repeatedly. But most importantly, Tanuma says, when customer service fails you, vote with your wallet. Don't buy from them again. Jake Ward, NBC News, San Francisco.
Human.
Yeah. Agent.
Financial headlines now. DirecTV users will have access to some previously removed stations when channel surfing.
CNBC's Bertha Coombs, definitely a human, joins us now with more. Hi, Bertha. Good morning.
You know, I'm 5'7", but I also have a big head. Meantime, we've got, we talked a lot about Disney and Charter having a fight and the blackout. DirecTV has been in a bit of a scrimmage, and they've agreed to temporarily restore Nexstar-owned television stations and the News Nation cable channel to the satellite service. In July, DirecTV removed Nexstar from its satellite, cable, and streaming systems as the companies failed to reach a new distribution deal. Nexstar has roughly 200 stations across the country. The company previously said that DirecTV had rejected its offer to extend the current deal to the end of October, affecting markets in Los Angeles, Chicago, Philadelphia, San Francisco, and Denver. Subway's deal to sell the restaurant chain may be getting some attention from Washington. The New York Post reports that the Federal Trade Commission is looking more closely at Work Capital's more than $9 billion purchase of the company. Work is the owner of several chains, it turns out, including Arby's, Dunkin's, and Sonic. If the deal goes through, that would give Rourke more than 40,000 locations nationwide, which would make it 3 times the size of McDonald's. Hard to fathom that. And Meta's next pair of Ray-Ban smart glasses may be on the horizon. The Verge reports a listing by Ray-Ban's parent company, Luxottica, has surfaced in the FCC's database. The original Ray-Ban Stories glasses let you capture photos and video and record and play audio, but they haven't exactly been a hit. The Wall Street Journal reports that fewer than 10% of owners use them on a monthly basis. The new glasses will let you live stream video to Facebook and Instagram and are scheduled to launch as soon as this fall. I'm not sure how I feel about that, because someone could be live streaming and you wouldn't really know.
Yeah, and you think you're talking to them and they're like not paying any attention. Like when I realize my husband has one headphone in, I'm like,
it's a little creepy.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, thanks, Bertha. Coming up, washing away the stigma.
When we come back, how one Florida business is empowering people with autism. You're watching Morning News Now. Welcome back. After a 4-year hiatus, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has made his big return to WWE. Johnson appeared Friday at the Ball Arena in Denver. The last time The Rock was in action was during the SmackDown 20th anniversary episode. That was in 2019. His last official match was back in 2013. It's uncertain how much longer he's going to remain in the wrestling world this time around, but loyal fans hope it's not too long of a wait. I feel like if there's going to be a match, you got a WrestleMania next year. Something's got to be in the cards coming up.
Yeah, are you excited about this?
That would be awesome if he did. The big speculation is his cousin is the champ and has been for a while. Are they going to go head to head?
Oh, there we go. Also, Joe, you know where he went after Denver on Friday? He went to Boulder to watch the Colorado Buffaloes win.
Congratulations.
Which went until like 2:30 in the morning on Saturday night. It was so much fun. Anyway, thank you, Joe. Well, according to CDC reports, there are over 5.5 million adults living with autism in America, and at least half of them are unemployed. Well, a car wash in Florida is helping to change the stigma of autism by hiring autistic employees and empowering them to thrive. NBC's Harry Smith has this story.
A car wash is a car wash, unless it is a Rising Tide car wash in Florida.
Thank you. Have a great day.
A bold demonstration of inclusion, productivity, and self-esteem.
So my brother Andrew's on the autism spectrum, and my father and I were really struggling with what he was going to be able to do when he became an adult.
Tom Derry's dad bought a struggling car wash where he hoped Andrew could work. Andrew and a lot of other people like him. And
we were able to take our first location that was only washing 35,000 cars a year and turn that around to one that now washes over 170,000 cars a year, and turned into 2 more car washes here in Broward County, Florida, that are even more successful than the first.
But know this, it has not been easy.
It was very difficult.
For many new hires, it was their first real work experience. There was trial and error aplenty, but especially on the part of Tom and his dad.
Is the business failing the employee, or is the employee failing the business? And 9 times out of 10, It's the business that needs to improve to better support the employee.
For instance, getting the cars into the wash itself normally requires contact with the public, sometimes not their team members' strong suit. So they came up with this simple sign, then color-coded the control panel.
So you were showing me the panel there. I couldn't do that panel.
Bree's exceptional at that. She's able to stay calm in really chaotic situations. She's pumped about it.
It took a while for Bree Mathis to learn the job, but she told us she's a pro now.
My new goal is that I'll be able to save a lot of money for me to travel.
We noticed a flag on her mask.
You want to go to Brazil?
Abso-darn-tootly, sir. You're right, tootin'.
Tom Derry has written a book about his lessons learned over the last 10 years. We read it.
You talk about peeling away layers of trauma. What's the trauma?
A lot of time, our employees experience significant bullying when they're in high school, as well as not feeling like they fit in to anywhere. But when they come here, this is the first time that there was a culture and a community really built for them.
A place where mistakes can be made, where mistakes are even welcome.
So we call this the dignity of failure, in that in order for people to grow, you have to push people to the edge of their capacity.
John Paul has worked here for 6 years.
Are you getting better at your job?
I am. I'm getting better at talking to customers.
One of the best measures of success at Rising Tide is the number of employees who leave.
We've had over 100 of our team members that have worked with us over the last decade have moved on to other jobs in the community.
What do you hope your employees earn more than just a paycheck here?
I hope they earn a sense of self-worth and a sense of self-confidence. There's a lot that this life has to offer them, and this is just the beginning.
Harry Smith, Coral Springs, Florida.
That is so great. And that he wrote a book to share that with
Yeah.
other people, so maybe other businesses can do the same thing.
Absolutely.
It's awesome.
What an incredible thing.
Cool. That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
But the news continues right now. Stay with us. Good morning, and thanks for starting your week with us. I'm Savannah Sellers.
I'm Joe Fryer. Right now on Morning News Now, gaining traction. Progress at the bargaining table this morning between the UAW, now on strike for 4 days, and those big three automakers, where things stand as the Biden administration enters the fray. Also this morning, a massive manhunt is underway in Los Angeles for the person who gunned down a 30-year-old sheriff's deputy over the weekend while he was stopped at a red light. The surveillance footage that law enforcement hopes will bring his killer to justice. We're also heading back to school this morning with U.S. News and World Report's prestigious national university rankings unveiled overnight. We'll chat with the site's CEO on the top spots and, of course, the shakeups. And later in the hour, we are flipping the script with a disco-fueled Broadway sensation that's bringing Filipino history into the spotlight of the Great White Way. We begin this hour with the latest on the United Auto Workers strike against the biggest three car makers in the country.
And that's right. Both sides resumed negotiations over the weekend, just 24 hours after nearly 13,000 workers walked off the job. Union leaders say progress is slow and warn companies should expect more people to join the picket line as the week continues. NBC News correspondent Jesse Kirsch joins us now from Moyne, Michigan with the latest on this. Hey, Jesse, good morning.
Savannah and Joe, good morning to both of you as well. Positive signs over the weekend. That's the headline from here in Motor City. But that doesn't mean that everything is smoothed over at this point. But despite the fact that, as you can see, there are some workers protesting, again, picketing outside of Ford's plant here in the Detroit area this morning, it appears that the UAW and this company are making progress.
As the United Auto Workers strike against the Big Three rolls into day 4, this morning, signs of hope. The UAW writing on Saturday, we had reasonably productive conversations with Ford.
Doesn't that seem like a long way to have come in a positive direction?
Yeah, it does. But it also tells us that it's not an agreement yet. So you can be as reasonable as possible, but is there agreement for us to get back to work and continue to provide for our families?
The company writing, Ford remains absolutely committed to reaching an agreement that rewards our employees and protects Ford's ability to invest in the future. General Motors also restarted negotiations with the union. And while more bargaining with Stellantis is expected today, the union and Jeep maker bickered over the weekend.
We're just a number to them. They do not care.
The stalemate impacting more than just those on strike. Ford says it laid off roughly 600 non-striking workers because of the walkout.
And the companies have made some significant offers. But I believe they should go further to ensure record corporate profits mean record contracts for the UAW.
And Biden says top aides are coming to Detroit. But the union says the White House is not part of negotiations. The UAW is still pushing for a 40% wage increase over 4 years, among other demands. The big three all say they've made 4 offers. The union says it has countered, but is keeping quiet on details. Now, tens of thousands of livelihoods hanging in the balance.
What is it like to try to support a family of 4 on what you're making right now?
You can't. You have to have dual incomes in the house. Like everybody has to be pitching in.
The UAW says what comes next depends on the big three.
If they don't come to the table and get things resolved, then we'll keep amping that up.
That could mean targeting more plans, which would expand the strike. Something else we're keeping an eye on. The Teamsters say they will be sharing what they're calling an important update tonight on this UAW strike, so that other major union, though, is already saying, guys, quote, Teamsters don't cross picket lines. So lots to be keeping an eye on in an evolving situation that does not appear to be close to done on at least some fronts. Back to you.
Absolutely. All right, Jesse Kirsch, thanks for the latest.
President Biden is gearing up for a busy week ahead. He's here in New York for the UN General Assembly. It comes amid rising tensions with Russia and China. Meanwhile, former President Trump is facing new scrutiny for comments he made during an exclusive interview with NBC News. NBC News White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez joins us now from the White House with all this. Gabe, good morning.
Hi, Joe. Good morning. It's a busy week for the president. Tomorrow, he's scheduled to address the UN General Assembly in New York. And then on Thursday, he's expected to meet with Ukrainian President Zelensky here at the White House. All this as he brushes off that impeachment inquiry.
President Biden this weekend dismissing congressional Republicans who are investigating his family's business dealings. The president instead focusing on this week's United Nations General Assembly in New York, on the packed agenda escalating tensions with China and Russia's war in Ukraine, launched early last year.
Russia has shamelessly violated the core tenets of the United Nations Charter.
As the war drags on, the U.S. is warning China against helping Russia, as growing tensions between the two nations are likely to be a flashpoint in the U.S. presidential race.
Would you send the U.S. military into Taiwan if President Xi were to invade? President Biden says he would.
I won't say.
In an exclusive interview with new Meet the Press moderator Kristen Welker, GOP frontrunner former President Trump may have also complicated his legal defense. He now says it was his decision to spread the false claim that the 2020 election was rigged and to try to overturn the election results. Legal experts say that could undercut any defense strategy, blaming his lawyers.
You called some of your outside lawyers. You said they had crazy theories. Why were you listening to them? Were you listening to them because they were telling you what you wanted to hear?
You know who I listened to myself? I saw what happened. I watched that election, and I thought the election was over at 10 o'clock in the evening.
You were listening to your instincts.
My instincts are a big part of it. That's been the thing that's gotten me to where I am, my instincts. But I also listened to people.
Were you calling the shots, though, Mr. President, ultimately?
As to whether or not I believed it was rigged? Oh, sure. It was my decision. But I listened to some people. Some people said that.
Meet the Press also extended an interview request to President Biden. And meanwhile, at the UN this week, President Biden is also scheduled to meet with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Joe.
All right, Gabe on the White House lawn. Gabe, good to see you. Thanks.
Well, a manhunt is underway in Los Angeles this morning after a sheriff's deputy was brutally murdered while sitting in his patrol car. Authorities now say they believe he may have been targeted simply because he was in uniform. NBC News correspondent Dana Griffin is in Los Angeles with the latest. Hey, Dana, good morning.
Savannah, good morning. Just days after he was engaged to be married, Ryan Klinkenbroomer was gunned down in his patrol car. Officials familiar with the investigation tell NBC News their own surveillance camera captured a vehicle of interest pulling alongside the deputy's patrol vehicle before speeding away. They are now looking for a suspect and a motive. This morning, grief and outrage over the tragic loss of 30-year-old LA County Sheriff's Deputy Ryan Klinkenbroomer. Did the deputy have words with this killer, or did he not see it coming?
Our deputy never even had a chance.
Authorities say he was ambushed and killed Saturday evening while stopped at a red light in his patrol car near the Palmdale Sheriff's Station.
Palmdale Sheriff is working in an emergency involving one of their deputies.
Authorities hoping they'll be able to use the surveillance video captured by their own cameras to catch his killer. It shows a car pulling alongside Klinkenbroomer's patrol vehicle before speeding away. Law enforcement officials urging the public for information on a dark gray Toyota Corolla they are calling a vehicle of interest.
Check your cameras. That could be the missing link to the information that we need.
Investigators also sharing that they believe this was a targeted act.
For no apparent reason, somebody decided to shoot and murder him. I'm assuming at this point because he was in uniform.
This was an execution. We are going to find who did this. You can run, but you can't hide.
Within hours of his death, a massive show of support for Klinkenbroomer, his fellow law enforcement officers escorting his flag-draped coffin in an overnight procession that temporarily shut down local highways. What was he known for around the office?
Just an extraordinary young man of integrity, would do anything for anybody.
The 30-year-old had just gotten engaged to be married last week. His mother posting on Instagram, "We are so excited to add to our family. Congrats to our son Ryan and his fiancée, Brittany." Amazing grace. Overnight, a candlelight vigil held in his honor. His heartbroken family and friends left searching for answers.
But there's a lot of questions. We don't have a lot of answers. That's where our faith comes in.
Ryan Klinkenbroomer was a third-generation officer following his father and grandfather. This morning, officials are offering a $250,000 reward for any information leading to an arrest and conviction. Savannah.
All right, Dana Griffin, thank you very much.
Now to the latest on the case involving the Utah mother of 3 accused of murdering her husband before writing a children's book about grief. Corey Richins is now accused of witness tampering after a handwritten letter was found in her jail cell during a search. NBC News correspondent Aaron McLaughlin has the latest.
Hey there, prosecutors allege in that letter, Corey Richins instructs her mother to direct her brother Ronald to falsely testify on her behalf. The defense calling the letter a violation of attorney-client privilege. All of it amounting to more drama expected to play out in court.
Behind bars since May, accused of fatally poisoning her husband Eric with a lethal dose of fentanyl. Prosecutors now claim they have evidence of witness tampering, alleging Corey Richins tried to compel a member of her own family to provide false testimony. The allegation coming after a search of Corey's jail cell last week uncovered a 6-page letter handwritten by Corey, which the prosecution alleges was intended for her mother. Writing in court documents, Corey concocts a false narrative about her deceased husband's drug use, and that the letter was intended to relay instructions to her brother Ronald to testify falsely that Eric obtained pain pills and fentanyl from Mexico. Corey also allegedly writing, "Reword this however Ronald needs to make the point. Just include it all. Tell him I need him to do this. Bring me home."
Everything I've seen in this letter is completely untrue.
This morning, a spokesperson for Eric's family reacting to the letter.
This is a desperate attempt to try to get others to make up stories to bolster her version of the case.
The state and I have been working through discovery.
Corey Richins has been charged with first-degree aggravated murder for her husband's death in March of last year. At the time, she told police she made him a Moscow Mule before officers found him unresponsive at the foot of his bed. An autopsy later revealed Eric had 5 times the lethal limit of fentanyl in his system.
5 times the lethal dose is not accidental, Your Honor. That is someone who wants Eric dead.
Prosecutors are now asking the judge to prohibit Corey from contacting her mother and brother. In response, Richens' attorney arguing the letter was obtained through a potentially illegal search, claiming it was found in an envelope marked attorney privilege, and that its release violates a gag order which could taint the jury pool. Corey has yet to enter a plea and was denied bail after an emotional impact statement from her late husband's sister.
I may be naive, but I never knew evil like this existed.
Corey Richens is asking the judge to remove the letter from public records. In part, that's because they know global media outlets are closely following the case, and any filings like this one are generating a buzz. In addition to making a decision on that, the judge will also have to decide whether that letter warrants a no contact order with her mom and brother. We should mention we reached out to her attorney for comment, but have not heard back. Back to you.
All right, Aaron, thank you so much.
Well, the United Nations General Assembly is set to meet in New York this week, and this year, the focus is on the environment.
On Sunday, massive protests took place across the country calling for an end to the use of fossil fuels and a renewed focus on stopping climate change. Brahim Al-Husseini is founder and managing partner of Full Cycle, which focuses on investing in companies trying to reverse the effects of climate change. Good to have you with us here again. First of all, just tell us, what are the goals for Climate Week here? What do you hope to see come out of the UN General Assembly?
So Climate Week is an annual gathering, the biggest of its kind in the world. It overlaps with the UNGA. It is in partnership with the United Nations, and they also coordinate with the UN and in New York City to throw 400 different climate events. And it's hosted by an organization called Climate Works, whose goal is to drive climate action fast. And they've been very, very successful for the last 15 years to increasing the awareness about the climate situation.
And viewers on their screen are seeing this march that took place over the weekend that was quite large, even here in the city.
75,000 people showed up, and it was very moving. You know, I stood there with everyone else and supported all the marchers because, you know, we are at that point globally that we have to start bringing attention to this cause as climate disasters are accelerating worldwide.
Back in 2015, the UN unveiled this list of sustainable development goals, they're called. 2023, these are supposed to be on track to be met by 2030. How are we doing?
So there's a mechanism called the National Determined Commitments, where every nation worldwide says, hey, we're going to meet these numbers by these dates, these climate numbers by these dates. And unfortunately, we're behind on all of them. This is not one of those mechanisms. Warming begets warming. So if we have a warm summer, which we had a record-breaking summer this last summer, that means next summer will probably be warmer because less ice, receding glaciers means less reflective sun rays back into space. So it's a problem. So you want to front load the impact, not wait to cram till the last minute, which is what a lot of nations are trying to do. They have to meet their climate commitments as they set them. They can't wait till the last minute.
A lot of emphasis is put on the United Nations. Realistically, how much authority, how much power does the UN have to try and set these targets and meet these targets?
So the mechanism in the Paris Climate Accords is not a hard enforcement mechanism. The way they do it is they have research targets. They meet with neutral researchers at periodic periods, and they figure out where they are vis-a-vis their commitments. Think about it as a face-saving mechanism. Just like a corporation has to meet its climate targets for their customers, for their shareholders, countries have to do it for their citizens and their allies. There's also, of course, economic incentives, too, to be ahead of the curve on the biggest investment opportunity in human history, which is the transition from a high-carbon to a low-carbon economy. The economy doesn't work in a world where climate is disrupted to begin with, as we've seen, like Greece lost 25% of its crops this summer because of fires. Canada, I mean, we know the effects of a disrupted climate, and it is going to affect our economy. So everybody's incentivized to meet their goals. They don't need just the face-saving exercise.
Brahim Al-Husseini, thank you so much.
Thanks for having us. Thank you. Good to see you both.
Now, that big breaking news this morning, 5 Americans held prisoner in Iran are expected to be released today as part of a swap for 5 Iranian prisoners who are being held in the U.S. and the unfreezing of $6 billion of Iranian assets. NBC News Tehran bureau chief and correspondent Ali Arouzi joins us now with the latest. Ali, first of all, where do things stand? When are we expecting these 5 Americans to be released? And then what happens once they're out of the prison?
Hey, Joe, what we're hearing right now is that they are on the way to the airport in Tehran, according to Iranian officials. It's not clear whether they have boarded that Qatari private jet, which will take them to Qatar and then Washington. But this all seems to be in motion as we're talking. All the officials here are saying that those frozen funds that were in a Korean bank account have now been transferred to a Qatari bank account where the Iranians have access to. And officials here are saying that the 5 prisoners are on the way to the airport, if not at the airport right now. So the next stage, Joe, is that they will be flown to Qatar. A couple of them will be reunited with family members who've flown from the States to meet them there. It's unclear how long they're going to be in Qatar or whether they'll have medical checks there, but it's not expected to be too long because they want to get back home to the United States as fast as possible. So it'll be a quick transition in Qatar and then off to the States.
So the Iranian government claims that $6 billion has already been transferred. Where did that money come from? And remind us the restrictions over how it's supposed to be used.
Well, that was Iranian oil money that the U.S. Treasury froze in accounts in South Korea, in Seoul, because they said Iran wasn't adhering to the nuclear deal and was circumventing sanctions. So they froze that money. And as part of this deal, the Iranians and the U.S. made a deal that if these prisoners were released, then that money would be freed up for humanitarian purposes for Iran to use, with very strict conditions on that. But as we saw in that exclusive interview with Iran's president and Lester Holt, the president denied that. He said that Iran can use that money for whatever they like. Now, the U.S. is saying that's just not the case. If Iran misuses that money, then they have the ability to freeze it again, and they're going to be watching it very carefully. Now, what unfolds in the near future will determine exactly what's happening with that money and how much sway the U.S. has over it. But they're saying two different things. The U.S. is saying it's strictly under their control, and the Iranians are saying it's under their control.
So, Ali, this deal is 2 years in the making. It's received some harsh criticism from Republicans. Are there any provisions in case Iran does not hold up its end of the deal?
Well, just freezing those assets again would be the provision. But of course, Joe Biden has come under extraordinary criticism for making this deal. Republicans are saying this is just going to encourage Iran to take more people because they get so much money from this. It's also going to endanger U.S. troops in the region or contractors because they may be a target. And they're also saying it frees up a lot of money for the regime in Iran. But the only clause they have right now is to freeze it if they believe it's being misused.
All right, Ali Arouzi. Ali, thank you so much. Let's bring back NBC meteorologist Bill Cairns with a look ahead at this week's forecast.
Yeah, Bill, what are you tracking this week? Hey there.
Yeah, for 2 weeks, right, we were talking Lee like endlessly, and now that's finally gone. But September is still the peak month of hurricane season, so we may get a little bit of a break this week, but there's always something out there. So we look across the Atlantic Basin, you see this big swirl here. This is a hurricane. We'll talk about that in a second. And then off the coast of Africa, we have another tropical wave coming. That will develop eventually, but that's so far, that's like 2-3 weeks away from anywhere in land areas. So we're not worried about that. This is Hurricane Nigel. This is going to take the big hook out in the open Atlantic. No problem there. And the Hurricane Center is highlighting off the Florida, South Carolina coastline, an area with a 30% chance of development. That's going to be more like a subtropical storm. It's not going to be a pure tropical. There's really no chance of that becoming a big beast of a storm, but it's going to linger along the East Coast, it looks like, much of this week, and then move up the East Coast come Thursday, Friday into Saturday. And that's why our rainfall forecast over the next week, this dark red is up to 4 inches of rain. A lot of this is out over the oceans, but then eventually it does come northward. So we are going to have to watch out for possible flooding at the end of this week in New England. The other story, summer's going out with a bang in the middle of the country. It was a hot summer, and it's going to be a hot end of summer, too. Today, temperature is about 10 to 20 degrees warmer than they should be, 80s all the way up in North Dakota. By the way, it did snow at some of the high elevations in the Rockies this past weekend. So there are some areas of the country that aren't this warm. And even into tomorrow, we're going to be 87 in Sioux Falls, about 17 degrees warmer than it should be. Other areas will be in the 80s, too. And then as far as the forecast goes late this week, I will call it comfortably cool in some spots like Pittsburgh and New York City, Chicago. The humidity won't be too bad. And I don't think you'll complain too much about temperatures there in the low 80s. But, you know, this is how we probably expect to end the hottest summer we ever experienced. Well, it's going to end nice and toasty.
Yeah.
It looks like the beginning of fall is going to be that way, too.
All right. Thanks, Bill. Appreciate it.
Bill. Well, an aviation investigation is underway after 2 pilots were killed over the weekend in a collision at a Nevada air show. It happened Sunday afternoon at the National Championship Air Races in Reno. The Reno Air Racing Association then canceled the remaining races for the day. There's no word yet on what caused the crash, but the National Transportation Safety Board and the FAA are investigating the cause. No one else was injured in the crash.
Coming up on Morning News Now, bringing Filipino history to the Great White Way. We are going to flip the script and take a look at Here Lies Love later this hour.
But first, a new NBC News documentary that's shining a light on the hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian children being illegally transferred to Russia. Those stories and more are up next. Welcome back. Since the start of the war in Ukraine, officials say hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian children have been illegally deported and forcibly transferred to Russia and Russian-occupied territory.
That's the subject of a new documentary from NBC News' Digital Docs team. It's called Saving Nikita. NBC foreign correspondent Molly Hunter explores one mother's 3,000-mile journey to bring her son home. Here's a preview.
Why is Russia specifically targeting children?
To destroy Ukrainian identity. They need Ukrainian children, but they want to make them Russian children.
An arrest warrant was issued today for Russian President Vladimir Putin for the unlawful transfer of children.
They're Ukrainian kids.
Нет. Были когда-то украинские.
These kids aren't Ukrainian anymore?
То, что их захватили.
Molly Hunter joins us now with more on this. Molly, good morning. You know, Ukrainian officials estimate fewer than 400 children have been brought home after being illegally deported to Russia. What else should we know about that?
Joe, Savannah, good morning to both of you, and thank you so much for giving us the time. That's right, nearly 400 kids out of hundreds of thousands. And Ukrainian officials, we asked many Ukrainian officials when we were inside the country, give us a number, give us some sort of an estimate. And they say the real number of kids that have been taken to Russian-occupied territory and into Russia is unknown. 2 things you have to know about this whole operation. The first is that deportation and forcible transfer is a war crime. And the second is the Ukrainian officials, very high level, that we spoke with, say this operation is core to Putin's ideology. They allege that this was the plan when the invasion started. Take another look at this clip. On the school's social media account, there are videos of children dressed up singing patriotic Russian songs. There are also photos of Nikita and Artem in a classroom. In one photo, boys in military uniforms, Artem with a Z on his sleeve, a popular Russian symbol of support for the invasion. The city of Perevalsk is just about 200 miles from Kharkiv, but getting there through Ukraine was impossible through dangerous active fighting and a constantly moving front line. So to find Nikita, Oksana had to travel some 3,000 miles through 4 countries just to wind up pretty close to home.
Это было страшно. Я вообще даже не представляла себе, как я туда попаду. Тут в Харькове, ходишь, блукаешь. Конечно, страшно. А то еще и Белоруссию, еще и Польшу. И вот так вот вся тряслась перед каждым кордоном.
Just extraordinary bravery from these mothers. Oksana, the mother that we follow, had never been out of the country. She had never gotten on an airplane, as you just saw on that map. She traveled 3,000 miles, and actually she was only going about 200 miles from where her home is. The thing that Ukrainian officials say and what worries them, of course, the indoctrination, the so-called Russification they talk about, but the window to return these kids, especially the younger kids, is very, very small, you guys.
Oh, wow, Molly. I mean, really, really powerful reporting. I'm so happy that you're shining a light on this. Also, I want to ask you, we know Ukrainian President Zelensky, he's going to be here in New York on Tuesday. This is for the United Nations General Assembly that's happening here, as we've been discussing. Do you think we could see him raise this subject in his remarks? Is this something that he'll try to bring attention to?
Yeah, you guys, President Zelensky has been very outspoken about this issue specifically, and the Ukrainian officials I've spoken with really see this issue as something that they can get international support and widespread international support behind. They say they cannot return these hundreds of thousands of kids by themselves. They need international pressure. And while President Zelensky, of course, will be talking about his 10-point peace plan, we expect him to be talking about food security. This is also an issue that, as a father, he cares very deeply about. He has spoken really emotionally and powerfully about, so I wouldn't be surprised if we hear him on this subject tomorrow.
All right, Molly Hunter, thank you so much. Again, very powerful reporting. And you can stream that documentary, Saving Nikita, the Fight to Return Ukraine's Children, on NBCNews.com.
More international headlines now. Taiwan says a record number of Chinese warplanes have been sent toward the island.
Foreign correspondent Kelly Kobea is back with us this hour with more. Hey, Kelly, good morning.
Hi, good morning. And yeah, that's where we start. Taiwan says China sent a swarm of warplanes to the island over the past 24 hours from Sunday morning to Monday morning, 103 in total, according to Taiwan, including more than 30 fighter jets. Taiwan's defense ministry calling that a new high and harassment. The planes turned back before reaching the island. To Iran now, and protests reportedly broke out across the country over the weekend in memory of Mahsa Amini. That's the 22-year-old who died in police custody a year ago after being arrested for allegedly wearing her headscarf improperly. Authorities deployed armed guards throughout the country to quash protests. There were also demonstrations in support in Paris, London, and Berlin. And finally, guys, an Australian man has been fined for taking his pet python surfing. The video went viral, but wildlife officials there said the man endangered his pet. The python, of course, is cold-blooded. The wildlife agency said the pet would have found that seawater very cold. This man says, hey, he's taken his pet snake surfing tens of times, and she actually really likes the cold water. And guys, you won't believe this, but there's another famous and kind of unusual surfing pet at that beach, Rainbow Beach. It's a duck, and its name is Duck, and it likes to catch a wave.
Wow.
It's a good name for a duck, I think.
We need that video.
Duck the surfing duck.
All right, Kelly, thank you so much.
Coming up, a criminal justice shakeup in Illinois this morning.
They're becoming the first state to put an end to cash bail. So what's the whole court process going to look like now, and how are local lawmakers reacting to the controversial new policy? We've got it covered next.
Welcome back. Illinois is making history by becoming the first state to ban cash bail. Starting today, people accused of a crime will no longer be required to pay to be released from detention. While supporters say cash bail often punishes the poor, critics warn the move could put more criminals on the streets. NBC News correspondent Shaquille Brewster joins us now with more on this. Shaq, good morning.
Hi there, Joe. Well, look, this is a change that's happening despite strong opposition in this state from Republicans and despite a lawsuit that went all the way up to the state Supreme Court. Today, cash bail has been officially eliminated in the state of Illinois, making it the first state to do so. It's a major and controversial criminal justice reform.
It's the biggest change that I've seen in 35 years.
The state of Illinois ending the cash bail requirement. Now, no one accused of a crime will pay to be released from detention while they await trial. So this is the first place someone goes if they're arrested?
Correct.
Officials in suburban Chicago walked us through the new process.
Is the defendant a threat to a person, persons, or the community, and they should be detained? They will not be able to get out.
It's here in this brand new courtroom right inside the DuPage County jailhouse where judges will rule who will remain behind bars and who is sent home until trial, a decision based on flight risk and threat to the community. How will judges now rule? What are their options?
Either to detain somebody or to release somebody
or to release somebody with certain conditions, and the conditions can be across the board, what they're doing or not.
But they can't involve money anymore.
They will never involve money anymore.
A federal government report showed that more than 60% of defendants are detained pre-trial because they can't afford to post bail.
The lawlessness of Chicago will soon be the law statewide.
Kankakee County Sheriff Michael Downey was one of dozens of officials who filed suit to stop the change.
A lot of the same individuals who are constant problems in our communities who are now not going to be locked up.
State Senator Robert Peters helped write the new law.
If you were rich and white, you were more likely to experience freedom than if you're poor and black and a woman.
And is there any concern that there are sheriffs, that there are prosecutors out there that are saying this is making their job harder and will make the community less safe?
If they do their job with something that's fundamentally rooted in safety, not money, then we should be in a much better position.
40-year-old Luis Gonzalez was arrested last year for illegally possessing a gun.
For my own safety, I picked up a weapon, which was illegal at the moment.
A nonprofit helped him pay a $200 bail. After being sentenced, the only time you spent in jail was right after you got arrested.
That's it, waiting to pay a bond.
A word now removed from Illinois law. Now, many of those nonprofits that previously helped people pay their bail, that assisted with that bail paying, say they will now be able to move and redirect those resources to scale up programs to help keep people out of jail in the first place. Think housing assistance, job training. They also will be able to assist a little bit more with legal representation. Guys, it's hard to overstate the change this is for Illinois law, but it takes place now, and you can expect a lot of eyes will be closely watching how it's fully implemented.
All right, Shaq, thank you so much.
We're going to turn now to a growing trend of women becoming mothers later in life. According to a CDC report, the birth rate for women ages 40 to 44 rose 4% from 2021 to 2022. And for the first time in 8 years, the birth rate for women ages 45 to 49 increased, and that actually rose 12% from 2021 to 2022.
Celebrities like Kourtney Kardashian now making headlines by speaking out about their experiences being pregnant over 40.
Joining us now to discuss is Dr. Jessica Shepard. She's the Chief Medical Officer at Verywell Health and an OBGYN. Doctor, good morning. Thank you very much for being with us. So just first, walk us through this new trend. Why is it you think that we're seeing this increase in women becoming pregnant later in life?
Yeah, I think that it's maybe not necessarily a trend, but those numbers that you stated, 4%, clearly show that we're starting to think about this a little bit more when we think about delayed childbearing. Now, this is something that we've seen on the rise over the last decade, but women are waiting later in life to have their children, and we do know that technology lends a hand in that, and being able to offer services and technology that can allow them to actually have children at an older age. But that does come with some caveats as well, because even though you might wait till you're later to conceive, the success of IVF or a natural pregnancy after the age of 40 still has its measures, and that number is going to decrease as if you were in your 30s or in your 20s.
So we mentioned Kourtney Kardashian. She recently spoke out about some of the complications she faced during this latest pregnancy, writing in an Instagram post, as someone who has had 3 really easy pregnancies in the past, I wasn't prepared for the fear of rushing into urgent fetal surgery. Dr. Shepard, what are some of the hardships and risks that women face when they do get pregnant over 40?
Absolutely. It's the success, right? So the success of actually getting pregnant and actually carrying to term. Now, we do know with the increase in age that you're going to have an increased risk of miscarriage and possibly not even getting to a viable portion of your pregnancy. So these are the things to consider. And this is something that the emotional toll that, women need to take on as they wait later on in pregnancy. But I think that when you have a good understanding of what those risks look like or what those numbers look like prior to entering into that stage, I think that lends to people having a little bit more clarity, but also knowing that they do have that possibility of getting pregnant after the age of 40. So whether it's a natural pregnancy, spontaneous, or an IVF, to know those numbers and to make sure that you have thoughtful conversations with your infertility specialist before you start the process, because the process can be rather long, but it can be successful.
Yeah, so you kind of just touched on some of this, some tips, but for women who are watching and thinking, maybe this is something I'm going to do later in life in that age range that are hoping to get pregnant, kind of give us some tips, whether that's naturally or using IVF. What should women know?
Yeah, I think that women should know just naturally, the age of 30, there's about a 75% chance of conceiving within the first 12 months. And that goes down to 66%, down to 27%, down to 16%. So you can see that those numbers start to drop. And that has a lot to do with, we are born with the amount of eggs that we have at birth, and that starts to decline. But we're also looking at quality of eggs. So, as you start to look into pregnancies, knowing numbers, but also knowing that there's also a lot of technology and variations of in vitro fertilization, whether that's with donor eggs or whether that's with using IVF, that you do have a lot of choices, but that choice comes with, again, where you are as far as age, past medical history, and also knowing what those outcomes may be with the time to get pregnant.
All right, Dr. Jessica Shepard, really good, important information. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Coming up, Morning News Now is heading back to school.
Yeah, with U.S. News and World Report's highly competitive college rankings for 2024. So which university claimed the top spot this time around? Perhaps the University of Colorado? We've got the list next. We're back with some financial headlines, and TikTok Shop is aiming to help users save big this holiday season.
Yeah, this is new, and it is all the rage. CNBC's Bertha Coombs joins us now with that and more. Other money news as well. Hey, Bertha, good morning.
Hey guys, yeah, October is going to be the start of holiday shopping. It looks like we've got Amazon. They're going to do another Prime Day on October 11th. And now TikTok is planning to offer Black Friday discounts in a month-long campaign that will kick off in late October. Bloomberg reports that the app aims to lure shoppers to its new online marketplace in what is likely to be a price war with Amazon and Walmart eventually. TikTok Shop launching here in the U.S. this past week. It plans to sell $20 billion in merchandise globally this year. TikTok is offering to subsidize discounts, in fact, of as much as 50% to entice sellers to take part in their Black Friday program. Oil prices, on the other hand, keep grinding higher. Brent crude, the global benchmark, is hovering near its highest level in almost a year, above $94 a barrel. U.S. crude prices are trading above $91 a barrel. Supply cuts by Saudi Arabia and Russia have sparked a 25% increase in oil prices since the start of July, and that has led to higher bills for consumers filling up their cars and trucks. Gas average is about $3.88, diesel $4.57 a gallon nationwide, according to AAA. That's complicating the Federal Reserve's fight to bring down inflation. The Fed is meeting this week. They're expected to keep rates unchanged, but they're going to be watching those gas prices along with everything else. Meantime, working hard and being independent, those are the top qualities that American parents would like to see in their kids. A report from King's College in London says those traits are valued much higher than having good manners or being well behaved. The U.S. also ranks high for imagination, having tolerance, and respect for other people. Being well behaved, the U.S. ranks last of nearly 24 countries surveyed. I'm just going to leave it there. I don't have kids, but I don't know.
Yeah. None of us do, but I think that that's an interesting fact.
It is.
Yeah. All right. There you go. Bertha, thank you so much.
This morning, U.S. News and World Report is releasing its brand new and updated list of the best colleges in the country. What's new? Well, this year they changed how they score the schools, which caused a shuffle in the list.
That's right. Eric Gertler is executive chairman and CEO of U.S. News and World Report. He joins us now with the details.
Hey there. Good morning. Good to have you with us. So let's start with it. Which schools made it to the top of the list? Any surprises this year?
The top schools made it to the top of the list based on our methodology. I'm happy to go through the list. Look, this is important every year because students want to know how to compare and contrast schools at a time when education is very expensive and the admission process is opaque. It's a time of anxiety, and we like to help students to get through the process with a little bit more ease.
Absolutely. So take us through the list, and then we'll get into that criteria that changed. But let's talk through the top 10.
Sure. We have lots of lists, but in terms of the national universities, the top 3, Princeton University was number 1. The Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, was number 2. And Harvard University and Stanford were tied for number 3 this year.
Wow, there you go. And Yale rounding out that top 5. So tell us about the criteria here, some of it that did change how you rank schools. What is it that you're looking for when determining the rankings, and what had changed?
Sure. Our methodology changes. It evolves over the years. What we care about is we care about outcome measurements. We know that that students want to know whether colleges are doing what they say they're going to do. And this year, we're measuring are schools graduating students of diverse backgrounds? Are they graduating students with manageable debt? And is their postgraduate outcome success? In other words, are students going to find a job? And is that job going to pay more had they not gone to college? So those are the metrics that we're looking at. There's always evolving, but most importantly, we look at things from the perspective of the student.
You have some new categories this year. Real quickly, run us through those and why those are so important.
So some of the new categories, for example, this year we're measuring first-generation first-generation rates and graduation rates. These are students who parents did not go to college. And again, this is about social mobility factors and important that we're measuring students of different backgrounds. We've also increased the measurement on Pell graduation rates. So these are students that are coming from the lower levels of socioeconomic on the socioeconomic chart. And then we're looking at graduation rates, and we're looking at first-year retention rates too.
All right. Eric Ertler, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
And coming up, we are flipping the script with a disco pop Broadway musical that's putting Filipino history squarely in the spotlight.
It's called Here Lies Love, and the cast isn't just animating history, they're making history. We'll explain after this.
Good morning and welcome back. On Friday's show, we talked about how former NFL player Deion Sanders has turned around the fortunes of the University of Colorado and our Buffaloes football team since he took over as coach. Well, we are celebrating after the weekend. The Buffs beat their big in-state rivals, the Colorado State Rams, in a dramatic double overtime victory, with the game finishing after midnight local time. Joe, we are 3-0. This happened to also be my anniversary, which my husband and I spent up until 2:30 in the morning Eastern just watching this because it was crazy. The 2 overtimes. I mean, it's amazing. I can't even put into words how nice this feels. We are used to being good losers. And as one of our biggest fans who said the other day, it's nice to be good winners.
It is. It's nice to have a fun, competitive game and then to win it, too. So
yes,
congratulations. Very
Thanks.
cool. All right. Now to our series, Flipping the Script, featuring people on screen, on stage, and behind the scenes, shining a spotlight on diversity. This morning, we're heading to Broadway for Here Lies Love, a musical that is making history. The show focuses on the rise and fall of Imelda Marcos, the infamous former First Lady of the Philippines. The entire cast is Filipino, something that has never happened on Broadway, and that's important because so many of the performers have a personal connection to the story. A disco-fueled musical might seem like an odd way to tell this story. Yet, a dance party atmosphere permeates much of Here Lies Love, an immersive theatrical experience by David Byrne and Fatboy Slim.
Is it a sin to love too much?
The show chronicles the life of Imelda Marcos from age 16 to 57. She's played by Ariel Jacobs.
As a Filipino artist, I've never had the opportunity to play a Filipino in my entire career. I think it's a healing opportunity for a lot of people in my company, as well as people who come see the show who lived through this experience.
The experience of what happened after Imelda married Ferdinand Marcos.
King and the Queen of Hearts.
Riding a wave of popularity, he was elected president of the Philippines. But in 1972, he declared martial law, triggering a 14-year dictatorship marked by corruption and human rights abuses. In the show, Ferdinand is played by Jose Lani.
We're warning people that if you don't protect democracy, it can be taken away.
There is a fine line that you have to toe here.
My job as playing Marcos is what he did to the country, which he seduced the country into believing that they were going to do all these amazing things.
For Lana, the story is personal. He was born in the Philippines during martial law. His family moved to America in 1979.
What does your family think about the fact that you're playing Ferdinand Marcos?
You know, it's a mixed emotion, right? Like they see their son playing the man who made them leave their country. But they know that it's more important for us to tell the story.
Especially what happened in 1986, the People Power Revolution, which toppled the Marcos regime. That movement actually started on the 15th birthday of one of the show's stars, Lea Salonga, who grew up in the Philippines.
Those who were at my party had to be told to go home early because, guys, the tanks are rolling out. It's time to go home.
That is a moment in your life that...
I'm never going to forget that.
In the opening weeks of the show, Salonga played Aurora Aquino, the mother of assassinated opposition leader Ninoy Aquino. She sings at his funeral.
There's a hand symbol.
There's a hand symbol. It's this. It's basically, it means laban, which means to fight, which means to rally against something. Me having seen it as a young person in the Philippines and then having to raise it up on a Broadway stage, it's incredible.
Have you had an experience like this before in theater?
No. On every level.
For starters, the theater's ground level has no seats.
Come on, let's give our people a break, you say!
The audience stands and sometimes moves as the performers and stage constantly shift.
So this is different from when you were in this theater in 1991, right?
That's the understatement of the year.
There were seats.
There used to be seats.
Salonga first performed in this very theater 32 years ago. The show was Miss Saigon, which won her a Tony Award. Now she's back with an all-Filipino cast.
It's like, never thought that this would ever happen.
Every time I leave the stage door, there's always 100 Filipinos waiting to just say thank you for telling our story. I know that it means a lot when you see someone who looks like you do what you want to do. And I think that, to me, has been the most special thing.
In some ways, did Lea do that for you?
Absolutely. You can't overstate how much Lea Salonga winning that Tony in 1981. I was a freshman in high school when that happened, and I literally said to my mom, I said, look, she can do it. Maybe I can go to New York and do it too.
I know that when my number's up.
For Ariel Jacobs, whose grandfather moved their family from Manila to America in 1965, this is a way to honor her family's legacy.
I feel like I'm fulfilling the dreams of my grandfather. It feels really important and powerful for me. I feel like I'm standing firmly rooted in my Filipino history here on American soil.
So the history did continue after that. Imelda and Ferdinand Marcos airlifted out of the Philippines in 1986, but the family was allowed to return 5 years later. Today, Imelda Marcos is 94 years old. And last year, her family returned to power when her son was elected president of the Philippines. As for the show, Here Lies Love is playing now at the Broadway Theater in Manhattan. I saw it off-Broadway 10 years ago and thought it was incredible. And the fact that they were able to take that and move it into an actual Broadway theater is awesome.
As somebody who has seen most things on Broadway, I mean, it seems like nothing else, right?
It's just a cool show. You just got to check it out.
It's awesome. Looks cool. Great job. Good interviews.
Thank you so much. Thanks to our team for that one. That does it for this hour of Morning News Now.
But the news continues right now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.